Hello and welcome, friend. My name is Tricia, and I recently ended my marriage of 18 years. As a newly single, middle aged person in a small Midwestern community, I found myself adrift, unsure of what to do with all of the time and energy now much more freely available to me. And these questions kept popping into the back of my mind whenever I was conversing with friends and family. But what they all boiled down to is this: how do you single? So I decided to start asking people to share the gems of wisdom they've gained along their journeys. My guest for this episode wanted to be an author illustrator when she grew up and has written various essays and internet blogs, as well as published a couple of books. And she was a Good of Goshen Person of the Year. She's just a very interesting person that I've known all of my life, but I'm still learning new things about. And I'm really excited to have her share. Today's guest is myself, Tricia Blosser. Let's get to it. So, Trisha, could you tell us your story? Yeah, this is going to be fun. I grew up in a evangelical church setting. I was homeschooled all the way through high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do for college and didn't frankly want to spend the money when I didn't really have like a clear like outline or idea of what I wanted to do. So I ended up working as a dance teacher and also a Montessori preschool teacher. That was sort of the first 25-ish years of my life. And then COVID happened and all my classes got shut down. And I don't like being bored. So I taught myself to be a software engineer. And I've done that for about 5 years now. And I really love it. I got married 18 years ago. My spouse was my second boyfriend and we loved each other. We cared about each other a lot. But, people change and grow, and we inflicted some sort of small T traumas on each other. And I found myself just more and more unhappy, but being unwilling and unable to admit that to myself. And so I did a lot of just sort of like doing my best to not rock the boat and just do my best to like kind of pull myself up by my bootstraps and make the best of things, but discovered myself unable to continue that and sustain that. So this last February, um, I started the process for a divorce, and that was finalized this summer. It's been a hard year. I also lost my dad. He passed away at the end of May, but it's also been a year of finding myself and growth and asking myself, what do I want? It's been a year of leaning into myself and into the hard things, but with so much gratitude. I've discovered a much, much more wide and firm like network of support than I ever imagined that I would have. And I've been there for myself in some of my hardest times, and I haven't failed myself yet. So, uh, yeah. So, that's my story. What are some of your weekday routines? So I have a lot of rituals and routines. I thrive on rituals and routines. Every morning I get up around about the same time, whether it's the weekend or weekday. Sometime after 8, I get up, shower, and I make myself an Irish breakfast tea with a little bit of sugar and a little bit of milk. And I also make myself what I call my breakfast toasty, which is a whole grain sourdough or maybe rye toast with a fried egg or two over medium. And after I get done with my toast, I spread some triple cream brie on there before I slap that egg on the top. And sometimes I have that with like a handful of blueberries or maybe some oatmeal, but that breakfast toasty has been my weekday breakfast for at least I don't know, 2 years, 3 years now. Before that, it was a baked oatmeal every morning, and lunchtime is usually a smoothie or maybe some ramen with a bunch of bok choy or kale leaves thrown in, and some frozen shelled edamame to like, and maybe like also like a tablespoon of peanut butter just for funsies. I usually like start the day with some sort of like reviews or like doing some work for my coworkers from my team. Then we do a heads up meeting where we all sort of talk about the previous day and what our plans are for the current day. And then we, get into our work, and all of us are fully remote now. So we'll do a lot of like kind of checking in with each other throughout the day as we have questions or as we, are running into issues or roadblocks. And also as people like have questions about like code that we've worked on or things like that. And then also there's a lot of planning of sort of upcoming tasks and things like that that we kind of all like to put our heads together for. And then it's just, working on my various like work projects through the day. I might take a little break at lunch for, yeah, just like a smoothie or a quick salad or something like that, and maybe a walk. But like usually that's going to be a light meal because I don't like to like have a big lunch that makes me feel like drowsy and stuff in the afternoon. And I usually take that pretty late in the day as well. Maybe, yeah, with just a little walk or some stretching or something like that to kind of keep myself fresh. And then I wrap up the day around 5. And usually I like to hit the gym. Like I'm doing a lot of sitting for my work now with software engineering, unsurprisingly. So I like to, like, it's like as soon as I get done working for the day, like my body needs to move. So I am walking out the door to go to walk on one of the local trails or head out on my bike on one of the local bike trails, or I'm hitting the gym. And the gym is really like my home away from home. And it's just a nice place that I've carved out for myself this year. I usually listen to podcasts or like my own playlists that I've made. And, I'll be texting with friends and things like that through the day and checking in with people. And maybe I'll go out with a friend for dinner in the evening and do a walk with them or something like that after dinner, catch up, go shopping sometimes, various miscellaneous chores. But yeah, some sort of like physical activity, usually my evening, and also some sort of connecting activity. Since my work is often like just kind of working at home alone all day, I do tend to like now be a lot more extroverted in the evenings. Whereas before, when I was like working in the office all day, I would be more introverted at night. But yeah, that's my evening, and then I sometimes I have, like, a little first dinner before I go to the gym and then, like, a second dinner after I get back. It just really depends on the evening, and then I like to finish out the evening with I have, like, now a 20-something step nighttime routine just because it's easier to form habits by just glomming them on to other existing habits. So now my, like, evening habits are like, filling up the water filter pitcher and filling up my hot water kettle so that I can just switch it on in the morning for my tea. And, just like task upon task upon task to make sure that like I am taking care of tomorrow morning Tricia and future Tricia, as well as like nighttime Tricia, that like I have all of the things that I need to like sleep well and rest well. And then I finish out the evening usually with reading something. I usually have about 3 books or so, maybe two to three books that I'm reading. Right now I'm almost done with my physical book at the moment is Bell Hook's All About Love, which I am really enjoying. And I'm kind of reading it really slowly, like the Bible, like just a chapter at a time or a paragraph at a time. And sometimes I have to go back and read what came before. Um, and I'm really enjoying that. But yeah, then usually some other like fantasy or sci-fi, something fun and silly or a memoir. I've really been into memoirs lately. So yeah, something like that, like reading myself until I notice myself getting drowsy. And then it's time to pull up the face mask and turn off the lights and get to sleep. Cool. Okay, so what are some of your weekend non-working day routines or rituals? So weekends are fun. Usually in the weekend, I like to do some sort of longer workout. Maybe that's like a longer bike ride or taking myself out on a hike or something like taking myself to the beach, even if I'm just going to enjoy the waves. And when I say beach, unless it's like an actual holiday and I'm off for the week or something. I really just love going to Lake Michigan. So yeah, something like that, some sort of like longer physical activity, and then some more connection as well, like hanging out with friends, going and getting, some brunch or some dinner or something like that, or a lunch, or going on a walk together, going, antiquing, or my friend Sarah and I have been skating. She does roller skating. I do rollerblading lately. That's been really fun to get back in touch with my teenage self who really enjoyed rollerblades. And then also I like to build like more sort of creative time into my weekends. So that's when I'll do usually like recording podcast episodes or, editing of podcast episodes. So yeah, those are some of the things I enjoy on the weekends. Cool. Okay. So how, when, and in what ways do you seek and cultivate connection? Yeah. So thank you for asking that question. Such a good question. Uh, yeah, I I do a lot of like as I mentioned, like texting friends just through the week, like as I think about them or some song lyric or something pops into my head, some image or something like that, just checking in on like how they're doing and what's going on in their lives and stuff like that. And also just like trying to regularly plan like meetups and things like that with friends and just like getting together because as much as I love the texting or emails, there's something about like face to face interactions, like actually being with people. And especially since COVID times, I do not take that for granted. Like, I really enjoy being able to get together with people. So, yeah, I really do spend quite a bit of time like nurturing connection with others. One of my most recent friends is a friend that I met on Bumble for Friends. And I just really, really have enjoyed getting to know her, and she's just a very cool and special person. But yeah, thanks Bumble for Friends. And then I've also met some really cool people as well on this podcast. So yeah, like just and I don't know, I've also done a lot of like going out for like live music events and things like that, like various local community events. So yeah, just being open to connection and also like intentionally cultivating it. Could you tell us about a time or times when you've experienced loneliness? Yeah, there have definitely been some lonelinesses this year, as one would expect when, you're kind of blowing up your life. Divorce is a pretty disruptive process. It's a difficult, painful time for all involved, whether you were the person initiating it or not. But interestingly enough, like I feel like some of the deepest, hardest, lonely times have been with people. Like when you're with people, but like you still feel unseen, unheard. Those have been some of the hardest times. Yeah. When you're feeling lonely, what are generally your go-to sort of thoughts or activities to care for yourself and kind of pull yourself out of that situation? I've been learning to meditate. I've also got this app. It's called How We Feel. I've got it set so that it like checks in with me 3 times a day, and they're random times. It's just sort of morning, afternoon, evening times. And so it checks in with me and it's like, how are you doing? And it's a time for me to kind of select, am I feeling high energy, not good feelings? Or am I feeling, low energy, good feelings? Or, one of these 4 categories. And then there's a grid of like various emotion words and then like a little descriptor when you kind of hover over them. And then it's an opportunity to journal. Like, why do you think that you're feeling disconnected right now or lonely? So that has helped because it just forces me to be more regular in checking in with myself and like what I'm feeling and how I'm feeling it and where I'm feeling it. I do like to just check in with myself and allow myself to feel the sadness or feel the loneliness. And I've been really tuning into myself, especially this year, and doing my very best to listen well, to signal to myself that, like, I am here for me. And then also, I do like to just reach out as well. And I don't necessarily think that I am very good about being like, hey, how's it going? I'm lonely. But just in a way that is like, I'm recognizing I'm feeling lonely. Wonder if there's any other friends that are, would appreciate some connection right now and kind of leaning into that approach. What are the best parts of being single for you? Well, funny you should ask. It's been an interesting year of the biggest, most difficult questions. What do I want? What do I want right now? What do I like, from the minute, like, what do I want to eat for dinner to like, how do I want to live? It was a really big decision for me. I'd moved in with my mom and my uncle Rob, and that was really wonderful and just really nice and cozy to be still so well cared for by them and just so like comforted. And I feel like that was a really, really good and special time. But also like recognizing like as I started like growing into myself and my own tuning into myself, like I think I'm ready to have my own space now, things like that. So like just being able to tune into myself is one of the best parts to me of being single, like having to ask myself the question and I'm the only person that can answer. I am the creator of my own story. I am the hero of my own story. And any of these hard things that I'm going through are like character development. And they are hard and it is sad. It's okay to be sad, but just like leaning into like, yeah, I get to create this entire thing for myself. It's hard, but it's also so good. It's challenging, but it's also so deeply rewarding. to just be able to have that time and space to listen well. Okay, let's imagine for a few minutes that you were given a chance to go back in time and visit yourself in some of your hardest moments, days, or weeks. First, can you share a little bit of what you were thinking or feeling back then? And second, if you could go back to that time and give some support or encouragement, yeah, how would you do that? What would you say to your past self? It's uncomfortable to think of those sad days. I definitely felt a lot of loneliness. I felt broken and uh, like not good enough in a lot of ways. And I felt like I was trying really, really hard, but couldn't be enough, couldn't do well enough, couldn't be good enough. So I think if I could go back to that self that was struggling and working so hard, first I'd want to just give her a hug and just hold her and let her know that like she is enough. She is loved and she's cared for. And sometimes people make mistakes and they mess up, but it doesn't mean that you're broken. It doesn't mean that you're unlovable. You are lovable. And I love you. That's what I would say to my past self. Thank you for sharing, Tricia. Are there any thoughts, tips, or favorite activities that you would like to leave with maybe our newly solo listeners as they build and create their own lives? Yeah, I think that there have been some really beautiful gems of wisdom and pieces of advice that my guests on this podcast have listed. Um, I think that they're all really cool and very amazing people. So I guess a thought or tip I would have is maybe go back and listen to some of those episodes and some of that advice. And of course, there's, the experts, but there's something really special and connective about like listening to just, normal people just like you and me, living their lives and creating their lives for themselves. Yeah, I think creating is one of the main themes that I've gathered, even if that's just creating a little cozy space for yourself or creating a small community for yourself or creating a, Tuesday taco night with a friend or or it could be, like writing, journaling, coloring, painting, whatever the thing is, put something out into the universe. And then also like there's been a really big theme of gratitude and just find those silver linings, find those little gems, find those like beautifully smelling places, like or the breezes, notice those things and like feast on them. Maybe it's a food, maybe it's just a scent, maybe it's a cozy sweater. Oh my goodness, we're getting into hoodie season. I'm very excited about this. Yeah, just be confident and comfortable with leaning into what you want and asking yourself what you want and tuning into yourself and what you need. Trisha, thank you for sharing with us today. You're welcome. This has been such a strange and surreal experience, but I have very much enjoyed it. So, yeah, thank you for indulging me. I want to take this opportunity to introduce our next segment. So we're going to transfer away from how to single and into more of this solo mindset as described by Dr. Peter McGraw and others. He has a great podcast, the Solo Podcast, and there's also a TED Talk and a book with the same title. But I like the idea of solo versus single. First, it sounds cooler. And second, solo doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have relationships, but I think that there's something about the solo mindset that is just really special and that I'm drawn to. It's a little bit thinking outside the box, which is very much right up my alley. So, yeah. So, our next segment of episodes is going to focus on how to solo with the topic of dating. So, I'm very excited to have some new guests, have some old guests, and yeah, dig into dating. So I hope that you all will join me next time for a new guest and a new topic. Thank you very much for joining me today. I deeply appreciate you.
I hope that you are able to glean some gems from our conversation and will join me next time for a new guest. Please like and subscribe to hear more, share with friends far and wide, and feel free to text me with questions or any thoughts you had. I'm grateful for you and look forward to connecting, sending lots of love your way. If you liked what you heard today and are interested in expanding your perspective on living solo, I highly recommend the Solo Podcast by Dr. Peter McGraw. How Do You Single is produced, edited, and designed by me, Tricia Blosser.